usual, but we are good. Cool. Well, I appreciate you guys joining us today. Looks like we have Alexi, Blake, Cade, Mariah, and Tori on Zoom, and we've got Catherine and Tyler in person. So we're going to go ahead and get started real quick. So I'm changing things up just a little bit. Originally do our mission moment at the first slide, but I want to talk about your guys' goals and ambitions. I'd love to hear from someone in either on Zoom or in person what a huge goal you have for your life is, or just general ambitions you have coming up. Do you have anything to say? No? One sec, Tyler might go in a second. So I'll start. I set a goal when I was 15, when I first started getting into personal development, and I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad and a few other books like that, that I have a goal to be a millionaire by 25. And that's like a super lofty goal. But I do think I can hit that. And it's kind of funny. I saw a quote the other day that was talking about how someone that sets a lofty goal, the first 80% of the time that they're working on the goal, they're usually very, very far behind. So they only get 20% of the results the first 80% of the time. But if they stick to it, the remaining 80% of the results usually come from the last 20% of time, which is very true. Obviously, from the age of 15 till now, I didn't make $1 million, right? But I've set myself up in that time period. Then in the next 2 years, if I just figure out a way to just push hard as hell and make it happen, that it's actually fairly realistic. So I'd love to hear from you guys. If you guys have a crazy goal you set for your life, anything?
$1 million by 25 is pretty good.
How old are you?
20.
20. So you want to say that?
Yes.
You don't have to take my goal, but I'm just making a point.
Right. I'll steal your goal. By age of 25, $1 million would be amazing.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Anybody on Zoom have something crazy? Maybe you wanted to be a race car driver when you were like 6, and now you can figure out a way to do that. I don't know. Just saying. But yeah, I'd like to use this time, like I say, to start talking about goals and ambitions and just sharing big, lofty goals we have with each other. Because ultimately, once you put it out there, it's more likely to happen. And I think once we build that kind of camaraderie as a team where we're talking about big targets that we have in general. I know Cash is walking in. Cash has a goal. I'm going to hold him accountable to close 6 this summer. We're going to figure out a way to get him 6 deals. So go ahead, Tyler.
I got a crazy goal.
Let's hear it.
I want to drive a Rolls Royce by the age of 30.
Dude, let's do it. Rolls Royce Phantoms. We'll buy one together.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, and it doesn't have to be monetary. Like your big goal could be like, I have a random one. I want to run a Spartan race this summer. So I competed in bodybuilding and I've competed in powerlifting. And so I think my next thing is something more athletic like that. Right. So I think it's important to share that with people, even if it makes you uncomfortable. Like I'm definitely not in good enough shape to run a Spartan race right now. I went hiking yesterday and I was like, what in the heck am I going to do? But by putting it out there now, if I don't do it this year, you guys are going to call me a pansy, right? You're going to hold me accountable. Every day, Cash is going to call me a pansy. So yeah, if you guys have something you want to chime in on Zoom, feel free to interrupt. I'd love to hear it. If not, I will jump into this next little segment right now. Okay, cool. So something we talk about at KW is be, do, have, right? And so we even talked about that on the GPS, where when you're writing down your goals, you can set them as be, meaning you have to become someone to make that goal happen. Do, it's an action you have to take. Have is the result. I think all too often people reverse that order, right? And they're saying, oh, once I have, for example, once I make enough money, then I'll take that trip that I want to, and I'll, be a more fun, enjoyable person. Or, once I work the first 30 years of my life, then I'll have the time to hang out with my family and be the family man I know I could be, right? But it's actually the opposite. By being that person, by choosing to, exhibit those type of characteristics first, that allows you to take the actions necessary, which then give you the ability to have whatever it is you want, right? You don't have kids first, and then one day, 30 years later, decide to be a good dad, right? That's a daily action. You have to be a good dad, take the actions that, allow you to be a good father to each other and then have a good relationship with them in the first place. So I want to talk about that real quick. We're going to talk about some big wins on the team this week. We're making good progress. So Tyler actually had another closing. So congrats, Tyler. Caden Crowther actually took a listing. So that's awesome. Congrats to Caden. We'll be seeing that hit the market soon. And then next week, a bunch of you guys are going to graduate Ignite. So we'll cover that. I don't know why it disappeared. Maybe it got deleted, but there's still like another 7 people that completed their case studies that have not come and seen me for their certificate. So if you have finished your case studies, come and see me. I've got a certificate of graduation for you. And we appreciate you getting that stuff done. Is there anything we missed? Anybody else that had a big win this week they want to share? Could be something as simple as I had a call go really well, or I set my first appointment, or for example, Cash did a Facebook ad and he actually got some leads. He got good responses. So that's awesome.
The one person that came to the open house,
Mhm.
he's a solid lead and unrepresented. So I have a meeting with him next week.
Right. And how easy was that?
So easy.
Right. Exactly. Take the actions. It comes by default. So anybody on Zoom have any big wins this week? This is your time to brag and we're all going to celebrate you. Don't feel bashful. If not, we'll move on. Okay, awesome. No sweat. This week's birthday. So in our office, we have Karen Delgado. I don't know if you guys have met her. She's awesome. She actually uses Jordan and his team, which you guys are going to meet here in a minute. So if you guys see her in the office, say happy birthday. And then Mary on our team's birthday is tomorrow. So if you see her, reach out. Anybody else's birthdays this week that we missed? Awesome. If we don't tell or don't say your birthday, you better bring it up because I only have like maybe 25 of your guys' birthdays, but we'd love to celebrate you. Okay, moving on. Final Ignite session is tomorrow with Dean Crandall. Dean is what I like to call our fearless leader. So you guys better go to that and get as much as possible you can from him. So Dean not only is a long-term agent and vet, he's on our leadership team and he's also our broker. So tons of great information. And like I say, you should always use Ignite as an opportunity to look at, this is a good hour to 2 hours. You get a one-on-one with Dean. Most people don't participate in the classes. So if you're the one person that does, guess what? That person's going to pour into you and give you all the information you could ever desire. And you don't have to pay for it. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like my first, 3 months or so going to Ignite, having that time with those people is what ultimately set me up for success because I didn't have all these other, resources you guys have available. Awesome. So trainings for next week, obviously daily, we got our team huddle. I know a handful of you guys join every morning. I appreciate that. We'll typically talk about a thought of the day. We'll jump into something we're grateful for, and then we'll set our intentions for the day so we can start the day strong. Next week, so there's no Ignite. What we're going to be doing is taking the majority of those times to still follow the same work zone format. So during work zone, we'll be talking on Monday about, it's essentially a group work training, right? So we're going to be going through any onboarding process you guys haven't finished. So if there's certain, people haven't finished their case studies, come to this. We'll actually use that time to work as a group together to check those boxes and get it done. If you guys want to work on your database together, let's all sit down and do something database driven. If you guys want to do script practice, lead generation together, whatever. Monday is our time as a group to use, majority of people to help get stuff done. If you're working on case studies by yourself, it can be tedious, but if you have 4 people working on the same one, how much easier is it to get that done? Much, much easier. Tuesday, we got Transaction Tuesday, KWT meeting. We also have our next launch session, which we'll be going through the scorecard on. Wednesday, June 15th, work zone again. So we're going to do, Wednesday is going to be Coach's Corner. So this is an opportunity for you guys to jump on and ask me any questions you could think of. So the training of that day will be specific to what comes up in the conversation. Tyler may ask me a question about open houses. Cash may ask me about a Facebook ad. Catherine may ask me about a Facebook message script. Well, guess what? You guys will get training on the spot on all those different topics. And I feel like that'll help us grow as a group when we all can, participate together. And then Thursday, Transaction Thursday, as well as our pro team meeting. And then Friday will be our lead generation challenge day. So everybody on the team can join and we'll do stuff like give away Facebook ads. I'll pay for you guys' marketing. If you guys want to get your own open house signs, you want to get whatever, like genuinely don't care. Every week it'll be different, but ideally the goal is that we show up, we get into action together and, we all make ourselves better because of it. So I'm looking forward to that. Vendor of the week, we got Jordan here from Security National. So if you want to come up and chat with us real quick, he's going to teach us and we're going to have an open conversation about the different types of loan products. We'll actually show you guys today, and then I'll email all of you guys the document he has in his hand, and we'll kind of go over that. But Jordan, if you want to take over, love to have you introduce yourself.
Absolutely. Yes. Wow. Round of applause. That's awesome. Happy to be here with you guys. What was your name? Tyson. Okay. I have all the people here in the room memorized, but where do I see the people online? Because I want to call on them maybe sometimes because they haven't said anything yet.
Yeah. You guys on Zoom aren't very talkative today. Just joking.
It's hard to be talkative on Zoom unless someone actually calls on you. So
yeah,
I might do that.
We got Tori, Mariah, Cade, and Alexia on here.
Okay, cool. Yeah, guys, I'm from Security National. My name's Jordan. I work with the A team. So, I guess there's a few, kind of like KW, there's a bunch of different teams. Security National is the company. A team is the team that I'm on. So it's Austin Ingersoll. If you've ever heard of that name, I'm sure you probably have. If you've heard of any name, it's that one. And then myself and then Eric Smart are kind of the team. And then obviously we got our processors and underwriters and stuff like that. So Security National, we've been working with KW for a long, long time. Austin was high school friends with Clay and Johnny. So we've been with them for a really long time. So happy to be here. I want to go over just loan products, right? I know you guys are all newer agents, right? And so you don't need to be an expert with loans, right? That's why you have, lending partners and stuff like that and to help you out. But you do need to know enough, right? To be able to guide your clients in the right direction. And you want to know enough, right? You don't want them to ask a question and have you be like, I don't know what a FHA loan is, right? I don't know how that works. I don't know anything about that. So we're going to go over the loan products. Oh yeah, cool. The chart's up here. First off, the chart is outdated.
If you want to use this,
sure. Yeah. The chart is outdated. And I think Riley knows that. So where it's outdated specifically is the maximum loan amounts. So those can change and have changed for the past
2 years.
I think 3 years in a row,
Yep.
right?
Mhm.
So last year we had the biggest increase that we've ever had. It went from the 548. So if you look, a conventional loan, 548, 250. So in Utah County, and then obviously 600, 300 in Salt Lake County, those were the loan limits. Last year alone, they went up $99,000. So obviously that number is related to, average sales prices in the counties, right? Which
Jordan,
obviously was way high.
So for you guys, what does that mean when we say maximum limit? Like, what does it actually look like for your clients? Yeah. So Cash said it's the price of the home they're looking for to qualify for that type of loan. And another thing too is let's say you have a client who's looking at a $700,000 house, but the max loan limit in Utah County for conventional is what, 648?
647,
647, right? So they would need how much down in that case? Yeah, about 60 grand, right? So it's good to know those numbers offhand, especially when you have a client that says, I'm looking at an $850,000 house, but I don't have any money down. Is that realistic?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to go over all these products and I'll kind of point, obviously this whole chart's great information, but I will point out the information that's like, hey, you need to know this about this product, right? And the loan limit, right, is definitely one that you need to know. So let's start with conventional. So conventional loan is it's the best product out there, right? It's the standard loan is what I would call it. If you've ever heard of Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, right? You've probably heard those terms before. Those are the conventional sponsors, right? Those are the government agencies that sponsor conventional loans. So it's not necessarily a government guaranteed loan, but it's a government sponsored loan at Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, or government agencies, right?
Having a little tech difficulty again, as per usual, this damn
it's
computer. 2 seconds.
You want me to pause or just keep going with my chart?
Oh, you're good. I'm going to just pop back up into the slide real quick. We'll be good.
Okay, I can keep talking. Okay, so conventional loan, again, standard product, right? It's the one we're going to try to get people into if they can qualify. Obviously, that's kind of leads into the next thing. What do you have to qualify for a conventional loan? What we typically say is if your credit score is 700 and above, and if you have at least 3% down, then we're going to look at conventional first, right? We're going to try and go conventional first. Where we would be handicapped on that is if the debt to income ratios, which would mean their income as it relates to their debts on their credit report, car loans, student loans, credit cards, whatever, is higher than the government agencies, right? Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac will allow. So conventional loans is a huge myth, huge myth. And you guys have probably heard this a million times because realtors try and beat this into their clients' heads as well. You do not need to have 20% down to qualify for a house. You do not. So on any of these products, right? What the 20% threshold, does anyone know what the 20% threshold does? Like why that was ever a myth anyway, why it became a myth?
Mhm.
Yeah. So Cash,
Nice.
Explain that a little bit if you can. Can you guys hear? Do you want me to?
Yeah,
people
probably.
on Zoom hear him? Or?
Yeah, you can add him a mic. That's probably better.
Yeah, so it's for PMI. So if you've got 20% down, then in most cases you don't have to pay for private mortgage insurance, which really helps your monthly payment.
Perfect.
Nailed it.
Yep. That's exactly what it is. So you want me to explain mortgage insurance a little bit?
In
How
layman's terms,
much,
for
yeah,
sure.
how
Yeah.
much time do I have?
Oh, I mean, we got like a good 15 minutes or so. You're fine.
Okay.
Yeah. No sweat.
So mortgage insurance, the way I explain it, because your clients will probably ask, and it gets confused. It's like, why do I have to pay that? I don't want to pay that, right? Nope, nobody wants to pay it. I explain it just like car insurance, right? Just like any type of insurance that you have. So Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, right? If they're going to give you a loan, especially if it's a minimum down 3%, right? That's the lowest you can go. That's a huge risk for them, right? Because right now, especially we're in the height of the market, right? Things could go down 3% and probably will go down 3% very easily, right? And then you're now upside down or whatever. Obviously, with time, real estate's always going to go up, right? No big deal. But for them as the lender, right? They're like, I don't, that's tough for us. So if we're going to give you 3%, we'll give you a loan where you're only putting 3% down. However, you're going to buy us an insurance policy that insures us so that if this does happen, if the market crashes, you lose your job, you can't pay for it, that we can now use that insurance policy to cover the difference between your loan amount and what we can now sell the house for. That makes sense? Okay. So usually when you explain that to someone, they're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Like if I was the investor, I'd want some safety net too. Right. Okay. Questions on that? Okay. Funding fee. That's something huge that you want to know. That's another reason why conventional is kind of the preferred method. There is no upfront funding fee. So because it's not government guaranteed, right? So there's no upfront fee that needs to go to, whatever agency that needs to be paid.
The way you want to look at it is conventional loans have the least amount of strings attached. And so typically speaking, they are the more so bread and butter or one size fits all type of product where, ideally that's where your clients end up unless they have access to VA, which we'll cover. These other loan products do have additional fees because they are either a quote unquote higher risk loan or they're targeted towards a higher risk borrower, like a, first time buyer or high debt, low income type of individual.
100%. Yep. Other big things just to kind of go finish up, wrap up conventional loan, huge benefits, no income limitation and no location limitation. So it's not like if you make $200,000 a year, $1 million a year, you're not capped, right? It doesn't matter if you're, out in Santaquin or in Lehigh, doesn't matter. Right. So no limitations there.
So one thing, and I just kind of left some important facts to know day-to-day chats with your clients. So I will ask Jordan, it's good for you guys to know this and stay in touch with the lenders for this reason, but obviously you don't have to give us a hard quote as far as rates are specifically this rate today, but ballpark, where are rates today for a conventional loan?
Oh man, that's always the hardest question. Ballpark, what we're noticing is a lot of people are paying origination points. That's something that we can talk about on another day. But basically, you with rates, you can get whatever rate that you want. It depends on what you want to pay for it, right? So people right now are anywhere between 4.875 and 5.625. I know that's a big range, but it obviously depends on credit scores and income and all that stuff.
If they pay, pay interest up front.
Yeah, if they pay money up front to buy down an interest rate. That may be something we actually should talk about just because of the market that we're in. The market that we're in has created, right? 2 years ago, rates were so low. No one was buying down an interest rate. I'll explain to you what that is. I use golf as an example when I explain this because golf's my favorite sport. So par in golf is even, right? Par is even. So with rates, every day there is a par rate for everybody, for everyone's specific scenario, their credit score, their income, their whatever, their everything, their situation, there is going to be a par rate. That means it's even. It's costing them no extra money, right? Closing costs are always there's standard closing costs. There's title fees, there's appraisal, there's all those standard costs, but there would be no additional cost for the interest rate. That's par. What you can do with rates is you can pay money, pay $1,000, $2,000, 1%, 2%. I saw a quote yesterday where someone was paying 4% of their loan amount to buy down an interest rate, which I think is ridiculous. But they were doing it, right, to get a lower interest rate because they still haven't gotten in their heads, oh crap, rates are higher than they once were. When rates were really low a couple of years ago, nobody was doing that because it made no sense, right? Rates were you were choosing between 2.875 and 2.5. It's like, I'll take 2.875. That's pretty good, right? So that's something you guys are going to be dealing with now when you're talking to people. It's like, A lender may quote them a rate at 4.625. You need a little bit of a red flag there, like, oh, that's lower than the market rate. I wonder what they're charging them, right? Find that out because it's important, right? A lot of lenders are getting super desperate to get loans. So they will quote a super low ball rate and people will be like, oh, great, I'll go with that. Not telling the borrower that it's with 4%. So that's $18,000 in just loan cost.
To touch
Right.
on something real quick, that's why I love Jordan and Eric over at the A team, is because they are the type that are very behind the curtain, like, or they'll open up the curtain for your clients and say, hey, let me show you why we're getting here. They're not just quoting them some low ball rate to try to earn their business. And I would find that most lenders up front don't quote the client's closing costs and do not quote the client's mortgage payments. How important would that be for your client to know? You go get a first-time buyer that wants to buy a $360,000 condo. They have no idea what their closing costs or interest rate are. They think they're getting an $1,800 a month payment. Their payment's $30 or $2,500. Is that a big difference? Right.
100%.
So it leads me to my next question. What are the average closing costs? Would you say, if you had to say a percentage, I can quote one that I know, but I'll let you say that, based on a conventional loan. Like if you just had a par rate, simple buyer, no craziness, what would you say percentage wise your closing costs would be in a range?
So we typically say 1 to 1.5% of the loan amount. And the reason there's a range is because one time of year that they're closing, because a huge part of closing costs are taxes. Taxes are due in November. So the closer you close to November, the higher your taxes or your closing costs are going to be. The soonest after November, so like December, January, the lower your closing costs are going to be. And then also it depends on loan amount, right? So if it's a $600,000 loan, your closing costs are going to be more, right, than a $300,000 loan, right? So I usually say 1 to 1.5. Sometimes on those really low loan amounts, a $200,000 loan, it can be 2% because it's such a low amount, right? Make sense? Because some of the closing costs are standard costs. Like an appraisal is $525. Doesn't matter who it is, where it is, it's $525. A closing fee from a title company is $295. Doesn't matter if it's an $800,000 or $200,000 loan.
Any questions on Zoom? Awesome. We'll jump into FHA.
Okay. FHA. FHA is a really good product. We use it a ton for first-time home buyers. First-time home buyers with a little bit higher, some debts, car payments, credit cards, whatever, and maybe not as good of a credit score. So FHA is a government guaranteed loan. That is why you will see, where's this button? You will see the upfront fee, 1.75%. That does not have to be paid in cash. They do not have to come up with 1.75% in cash to pay that. That is rolled into the loan, right? So essentially their down payment of 3.5 is not necessarily 3.5 because it only brings the principal down 3.5, but then that loan fee is tacked on 1.75%. Like I mentioned, the biggest reason you would use an FHA loan is if your borrower has a credit score. Remember I said 700 is kind of the threshold. Anything 700 and below, we're probably going to start looking at an FHA product for them. If their debt to income ratios, again, you don't need to know much about that, but if they're over 45%, we're going to start looking at FHA as a good product for them. Huge difference between FHA and conventional loans is the mortgage insurance. So the mortgage insurance premium, see that for the life of the loan. So an FHA loan, a conventional loan, right? Like Cash said, once you have 20%, either down payment up front or equity, and after 10 years, whatever you have that equity, you can refinance and drop the mortgage insurance. With an FHA loan, it is on there forever. So as long as you keep that FHA loan, you're going to have the mortgage insurance. So what most people do is when they get an FHA loan, the plan is keep it for 3 to 5 years. We're going to refinance you out of it, get a conventional loan. With the crazy appreciation we had people had an FHA loan for 1 year, right? And then they literally refinanced and had 20% equity, dropped PMI into a conventional loan. So that was awesome. Those were the good days. So loan limits are different for FHA. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. You're going to hear, anytime you hear about loan limits, you're going to hear about conventional loan limits. That's what everyone talks about. It is $647,200 in Utah County. That's conventional. FHA, it is different. It's $508,000 now in Utah County. So You don't need to necessarily remember that one as much. That's again why you would have us, why you would call us, but just know that they are different, right? If your borrower is getting a conventional loan, remind them, make sure they know it is not 647,000. Okay. Those are really the good basics I wanted to cover for FHA. What questions do you have for FHA? Federal Housing Administration is what it stands for, is government guaranteed. No income limits. Nope. No, you're good.
So why would an FHA loan typically have a lower interest rate than a conventional?
Great question. So yeah, that's something really important to touch on. A lot of people will say, hey, why don't I go with a convention or an FHA loan? It's a better rate, right? The reason you wouldn't is because obviously the mortgage insurance. Number one, the percentage and the premium on mortgage insurance for an FHA loan is higher just right off the bat. And number two, it doesn't go away, right? So usually when we balance, if you're 700 credit score above, right? When we look at conventional versus FHA, conventional almost always is cheaper, even though the rate is better, right? The rate is cheaper, like Riley said, a little bit, right? Maybe 0.25%, maybe 0.5% in some cases, because it is government guaranteed. So
That works.
Okay.
FHA, what would you say average closing costs are per loan or for the loan?
So yeah, FHA is going to be higher if you obviously include the 1.75%, which it will show on the closing disclosure at closing. So anywhere from, again, the standard closing costs are going to be the same. It's going to be 1.5% to 2%, but then you're going to have the 1.75% on top of that. So 4 to 5% of the loan amount. Again, though, remember the 1.75% does not need to be paid in cash. The other closing costs do. That's something actually, gosh,
There's a lot to cover. Yeah. That's the thing with loans. And that's the other thing you'll find out as an agent, just go general conversations. Like he brought up like debt to income and all these things. Like I shouldn't know that, but because I've had deals fall apart because of it, or I've had tons of hard conversations with lenders where we're digging into how can we get them to qualify? Something came up, they had a debt they didn't report. You start to pick up on stuff that you're like, I shouldn't know this because I'm not the lender, but like, it's not also bad to know it too.
Sure. Absolutely. But one thing again to know, a lot of people, like Riley was saying, they think, oh, it's a conventional loan or it's FHA. All I need is 3%. All I need is 5%. All I need is 3.5%, right? That is not true. For a purchase, right? They have to pay the closing costs. A lot of people think, oh, I just roll them into the loan, right? Because on a refinance transaction, which they've probably done in the past, they owned a home, they refinanced, you do roll the closing costs in. On a purchase, you cannot. Right. So make sure you tell people, right, if they're, I have 3% down, make sure you say, okay, you have 3% down. Do you also have, 5 to 10,000 for closing costs? Right.
And something that when the market or the rates were a little bit better, what we were doing was doing lender credits where we'd say, okay, you can get a 2.5% interest rate, but if you take a 3% interest rate, we'll kick you back money for closing costs. But now it would make no sense to do that. So it's always good to know your numbers up front with your clients. That's the whole reason you get them in touch with a lender before you show them houses, before you really start the process, is because they can help almost play good cop, bad cop with you and give the client reality. Because you might have a client who says, I have nothing in my pocket. I want to buy a $600,000 house. Next loan program or 2 loan programs down the road, 3, we're going to talk about options for that. But no matter what, even if it's a 0 down loan, there is still some form of buyer paid closing costs, even if it's only a couple grand. So you always have to make sure they have something.
100%. Yep. For example, we're working on a deal with, one thing to keep in mind in this market, I'm working on a deal with Shoney right now and one of his clients. And we're actually getting into the market now where we can start possibly asking sellers for closing cost assistance, right?
The last 3 buyers I have under contract, we have some form of seller contribution of at least $2,000.
And that is huge. For 2 years, we haven't seen that at all. So that's something to keep in mind as well. If they say, hey, I don't have extra money for closing costs, you can negotiate with the seller, increase the purchase price by $5,000, whatever. So the seller's net is the same, right? And then have them kick back $5,000 in closing costs. That's worst case scenario, right? Sometimes you can negotiate, hey, just instead of dropping the price, give us $5,000 in closing costs.
I actually just talked to that with Mariah on the call today. She's got one where it's aged inventory. That's the other thing too. If you have a buyer who has no money, look for aged inventory. Look for the house that's been on the market 10 days, 20 days. Yeah, they'll give it. Because chances are that seller just wants to put it under contract, but you could go in there and say, we want a home warranty. We want you to cover our closing costs. We want a price reduction. We want something right up front and get your client a better deal. So
100%. Yeah.
Let's jump into VA.
Okay. VA loans, obviously well, obviously VA is Veterans Administration. That is a veteran loan, right? Any person that's a veteran can get that loan. It is the best loan that you can get. Rates are the best, terms are the best. Your debt to income ratios, again, we've said that many times, can be higher. So meaning they can be tighter, right, with their income and still get approved. The only downside for a VA loan is a 2.3% fee. So it's a big upfront fee. However, if they are a disabled veteran, which you would be surprised more often than not, they are, even if they, like they don't have to be in a wheelchair, like a lot of times they, yeah. So we get their certificate of eligibility. And if they're receiving disability income from the VA, even if it's $200 a month, right? Typically on their certificate of eligibility from the VA Veterans Administration, they will have a waiver for this fee, which in that case makes it by far the best loan product because there is zero down. They don't have to put any money down. No income limits, no mortgage insurance, nothing. So by far, good rates, by far the best program. Honestly, that's all you really need to know about VA is if they are a veteran,
Do VA.
do VA.
There's maybe one occasion where a veteran that I've worked with has not done VA, and that was either because they had just recently purchased a property with it and the other circumstances. But
Yeah.
even if they have a terrible credit score, most of the time with VA, they can still do a VA loan down to like a 580 credit score.
Yep.
So it makes total sense.
The only time I haven't is if they're sold a property and they have $200,000, right? At that point, and they want to put it down, right? Because they just want their payment lower. At that point, a lot of times it makes more sense to go conventional because they already have the huge benefit of VA is no down payment requirement. So it's the only reason. But if they're a VA, definitely go VA. Okay. If they're a veteran.
Yeah.
Questions, VA? Okay. Rural housing. Honestly, you don't need to know much about this one right now because it's really like gone completely away because of the market, income limits. So most people right now have to make a certain amount of money to even qualify. So it pushes them out of the income limit because there is a major income limit on this one. And you have to be in a rural area, right? And then home prices are high enough. So obviously you have to make enough money to afford the home price. It's just a box that people honestly never fit into. I haven't done a VA or a Utah housing or a rural housing loan in 2 years.
You'll hear this either called rural housing or USDA. I would say in 2019, 2020, even the 2021, I still had clients doing them, but he's 100% correct. They're pretty much either doing the next program, which is a Utah housing, zero down, or a conventional or FHA, maybe VA. But I've not really seen. Yeah. All of Saratoga and all of Eagle Mountain used to qualify. Only portions of it do now. Spanish Fork South used to, and I believe that's still the case. But
South of Spanish Fork River. Yeah,
good luck finding most houses that would qualify for this. In that price point. Maybe it's a condo, maybe it's a townhouse, but it's very rare.
Very, very rare. So yeah, at that point, refer it to if it's in a rural area, say you could say, hey, this could be a possibility for you, but
and it's always the great thing with a lot of these products too, is they're almost like a lure, right? Like when you're marketing to buyers, you can say, hey, we've got multiple zero down programs. If you want to move down south, you know what I mean? It's a get your foot in the door kind of situation, but then you let someone like Jordan actually identify what's best for them. And the great thing with Jordan and his team is that they're not the type to push them to something that's better for them. In fact, I would say they have the lowest lending fees that I've seen with any lender I've worked with, but their service is like 100% top notch. They've never not closed a loan on time. We had 2 we've done recently that were nightmares and they still got it done with the most difficult clients. And so I feel like these are just opportunities for you to learn and market yourself as well as these products as a potential to get your foot in the door. And then obviously you'd let someone like Jordan, handle the rest at that point.
Yeah, 100%. Thanks, Riley.
No problem.
Okay. Utah housing. This one you will want to know about. Utah housing, like Riley said, is really, it's the best right now product for zero down. What Utah housing is obviously government guaranteed, right? It's a Utah product. It's a conventional loan and an FHA loan combined together. So again, you don't need to really know that much, but you do need to know that it is 2 separate loans, right? So what we do basically is it's an FHA loan, right? To start with. So all the requirements of an FHA loan will all be required with Utah housing. However, there are income limits, there are location limits limits, right? So be careful, right? When you're saying Utah housing, just say, hey, talk to the lender. there are income and location limits. So we'd have to look at specific counties and stuff like that, see if their income is too high, all that. But other than that, it matches FHA completely. It's basically an FHA loan. So with an FHA loan, how much down do we have to have, Tyler?
No. So you're
Down
good.
payment. 3.5%.
That's a
1 point-
fee, funding
That's
fee.
a fee.
Mhm. Like a lender fee, almost kind of like from the,
It rolls into the loan. Yep. The fee, the upfront fees roll into the loan. The down payment, right, is 3.5% requirement. So with Utah Housing, remember how I said it's 0 down, but it is an FHA loan. So it is still required, the 3.5% down. How we get around that, that's why there's 2 loans, right? So the second loan is a conventional loan, basically. We use that conventional loan to pay for the down payment. Right. So they get a loan for essentially for their down payment and for their closing costs. As Riley said, they still need to prepare, even with the Utah Housing, to come up out of pocket, even though it's 0 down technically. The amount with the home prices that where they're at, the amount that we can get on the second loan is limited. So it usually means they have to come up with a couple $1,000s at the end on Utah Housing.
the great thing with this program, as he's saying, with the market we're going into, negotiating for closing costs is going to get a heck of a lot easier. So I've literally got people to buy houses with me by saying, I could get you into a house for $1,000. And it's literally worked because they just need $1,000 for their earnest money legally for the program.
Yep.
But if you can get the seller to cover the rest, then they can even, I've literally had people put $1,000 down and at
Get it
closing, get all of it back. So they legitimately paid nothing out of their pocket besides their inspection money, to get the house. The tough part with that loan is that it does have a higher interest rate, basically because they're giving them all the money up front. But yeah, it's 2 loans as well. But that is 100% the best product for a first-time buyer with no money down. You can't really beat it.
Yep.
So
The biggest thing, honestly, interest rate hasn't been the biggest deterrent for a Utah Housing loan at this point, just because all interest rates are bad, right? Right now, right? No one's super thrilled with where they're at. They're going to get lower. Everyone's going to refinance. Anyone who's closing right now is going to refinance eventually. So, right. So the biggest issue we've had with Utah Housing is just the purchase price limits. So just because purchase prices are high. So if you're out in a rural area, right, where purchase prices are a little bit lower, maybe a townhome, something like that, Utah Housing is definitely an option. So
any questions for Jordan, guys? Was that helpful? Learn a lot? So let's talk about these basic things. Again, we touched on a couple of them, but important facts for you guys to know in day-to-day chats with your clients, especially buyer consults, because naturally this conversation is going to come up. And if it doesn't, you should bring it up, because I think if you establish yourself as the resource and essentially the know-it-all, really, they're going to come to you with questions. A couple of things you should know: what type of buyers for which type of loan program. As we discussed, right? Conventional, bread and butter, typically your prime buyers, high credit score, down payment type of individuals. FHA, lower income or lower credit score individuals, right? Most of the time, or something related with their debts. VA, veterans, USDA, and Utah Housing first-time buyers. Obviously, first-time buyers could qualify for conventional, FHA, USDA, or Utah Housing, but let's say 0 down these 2 with a down payment, these 2. Is that fair? Things that obviously go into that, like we talked about, credit score, down payment, no down payment, etc. Current rates for each program ballpark, as Jordan discussed, I would say 90% of the interest rates you're going to see from now on until rates come down are going to be 5% plus.
Mhm.
So if someone says, hey, ballpark, where are rates? Oh, I know they're just over 5%. Did you
Yep.
say they're 5.5, 5.375? No, again, don't ever quote hard rates unless you literally just got off a call with Jordan. He said today's rate is 5.375, right? Just give them a ballpark. But knowing a ballpark, again, is crucial to sound credible, right? Because they want to know you're their news person. They're getting their information from you. Lastly, average amount of closing costs per loan. The reason you'd want to know at least a ballpark on this is so in your buyer consults, I personally always talk about money, because before I hand them off to someone like Jordan, I would, number one, love to be able to tee him up and say, hey, here is kind of what I know about this buyer. They've told me their goals are this. They've told me they have around this much in savings. What do you think? And then he jumps in and takes over from there. It's a lot easier to tee that conversation and relationship up.
for sure.
But secondly, for me, I need to know that for negotiation, because if I have a client who's hush hush about their finances and I get them under contract just to find out they don't have a down payment, they never had closing costs, that doesn't work, right? You need to know those things up front, but not in a very intrusive way, but more so, like you say, if to tell them the reason I need to know this is because I need to know how to structure things to your benefit, right? Anything you feel like we missed?
No, actually, I feel like we went too deep, but that's
Yeah.
kind of how it always goes with,
Yeah.
with loans. Honestly, these products you can get into the weeds really, really fast. But again, you don't need to know that. I think what he highlighted right here is exactly what you need to know. 700 plus, right? That's what you're going to be thinking for a credit score. 700 plus, you kind of know where they're going. 700 below, you kind of know where they're going. Down payments, obviously, you'll have this to refer back to. This hasn't changed. Down payment requirements have not changed. So yeah, no, I don't think, with rates, tell them exactly what I just told you. Rates shouldn't deter people from buying a home. Obviously, if they don't qualify, they don't qualify, right? But rates will always change. They will go up, they will go down. I mean, look at it. I bought a house. It'll be 5 years ago in September. My rate was 5% when I bought it. Right after Donald Trump got elected, everyone thought stock market was going to go nuts. Rates shot up 1.5%, 2% in a month. My home was getting done being built. I had to close, right? 5%. That was less than 5 years ago. I refinanced. I'm at 2.625 now, right? So that's a 5-year gap where, you can tell people, yes, it's a little bit tight right now. It might be a little tight, right? Rates will go down.
What's the 50-year average interest rate?
50-year average is probably 4.5, 5. 50-year average.
I've heard, I may be wrong, but maybe I should look this up, but I was told that the 50-year average, because obviously it includes like even back to the 80s,
that might be like
8%.
Yeah.
So even if a 5% interest rate is high right now, the 50-year average, it's still a good rate. And truthfully, it's still cheap money. Like 5% is not crazy. There are people that buy houses in the 80s with a 17% interest rate. That makes me want to puke in my mouth, right?
That's bad.
Yeah. But I appreciate you, Jordan. And like I say, guys, obviously on the team, we talked about using Intraline, but he is one of the people I would definitely send your business to. Him and Eric are my boys. That's who I'm going to send all my loans to. So if you guys have any questions, reach out to me. I'm happy to pass along his contact. Should have put it on here, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But you're welcome to
just send me their emails.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
I'll actually throw it
the
into
whole team. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll send him that. And I'll also put his info as well as this document in the Slack. So you guys have access to it. And then, like I say, if you need a resource, Jordan's definitely your guy. But yeah, thanks, man.
Thanks, guys.
Great jam with you. I steal that, or you can give that to them. That's fine. You can just set it down over there by Tyler or something. Yeah, probably so. Okay, guys. Hopefully that was helpful. Love chatting about that kind of stuff. I feel like this is the stuff that makes you the market and industry expert. That's going to help you show up. Again, time in real estate doesn't matter, because I'll give you an example. Oh, thanks, brother. Give you an example. I was doing my recruiting calls the other day, and I spoke to an agent at Caldwell Banker that's been in the industry for 28 years. How many deals do you think he closed this year so far? Tristan in the crowd said 6. Anybody else want to chime in? 2? About 3. He's in about $1.5 million in volume this year. When I asked him, what are your strategies for the upcoming shifting market? You know what he said? Oh, I started writing a blog and I might start knocking doors. How do you think he's going to do? Do you think you're going to do better than him? How about you? How about you? Yeah, you? Right. So I feel like that's where this kind of stuff is crucial. As annoying as it is to probably sit here and listen to me preach at you all day, just joking. This is why I'm doing it, because I don't want to ever look at you guys in 5 years in this career and you're closing 5 deals a year. That guy has not been in real estate for 28 years. He's been in real estate 1 year, 28 times. He hasn't learned anything that's helped him actually build a real business. He got lucky. He has people that's the thing. Just like all of you guys getting licensed, you probably had at least one person tell you, when you get licensed, maybe I'll use you, right? That's going to happen. Everybody's got at least one deal on deck in their pipeline. But to consistently get business is going to require a lot more. Today, we're going to talk mindset training. This is your checkup from the neck up every week. We're going to quickly watch this video. It's about 15 minutes. It's great. We're going to talk about the power of your mind.
You don't see things in your life as they are. You see things in life as you are. And so the more you alter you, the more you begin to see things differently. What's is amazing about this is we control who we are by what we think about. When you're obsessed with what you want, you begin to hear those conversations. When you're not obsessed, you miss them. Or you'll see something that you wouldn't see. You'll see the prospect. You'll see the situation. You'll see the opportunity. It's literally reveals you. It's almost like the Matrix. It changes our world. This is the power of what we think about. It's the most misunderstood thing in the world. Do you ever think about what you think about? Because if you did, and if you took control of that, you could alter the direction of your entire life. Most people never take the time to take an inventory about their thoughts, yet our thoughts control our world. Our thoughts are like magnets. They literally draw towards us that which we obsess about. And so most people never take the time to analyze what they think about. The most successful people I know are the most self-aware, meaning they're aware of what they do and they're also aware of what they think. They're aware of how they're perceived. So today's message is about thinking. There's some stats you need to know. Number one is average person, you and I have about 75,000 thoughts a day rattling around in this thing we call our brains and our minds, 75,000 of them. The crazy thing is 91% of those thoughts are identical to the previous day and are identical to the day before that and the day before that and the day before that. And then we wonder why our life seems to repeat itself over and over again. So really the difference in our life, if we have 75,000 thoughts a day, here's the crazy thing, 91% of them are exactly the same. The separation in our life is in those 9% of their thoughts, because remember this, these magnets are pretty powerful. That's why I'm always saying that your obsessions become your possessions, because they do. You draw into your life exactly what it is you think about. It's a physical reality that you attract to yourself what you think about. So the difference in our life is 9% of our thoughts. That's why people say all the time, the difference between winning and losing is so small, it's almost too scary to talk about. And really, we have identified what it is. It's 9% of what we think about alters the direction of our life. So what I'm here to tell you today is you've got to hone in and get aware of what you think about and then alter those 9% of the thoughts that are variable on a daily basis to serve you. Because if you don't, these thoughts become like viruses. They're viruses in our minds. What happens in a computer when it gets a virus? It slows down. It becomes sluggish. It doesn't function at its optimal level. Same thing with our thinking. If we don't get those 9% of our thoughts to serve us, our lives go in a completely different direction. So remember this, you don't see things in your life as they are. You see things in life as you are. And so the more you alter you, the more you begin to see things differently. What's is amazing about this is we control who we are by what we think about. Think about this just for a second. Wherever you're sitting watching this, the chair that you're sitting in, if you're sitting in a chair, if you're driving in a car and you're listening to this, that seat you're in started in someone's mind as a thought. Right? Every detail of it, the fabric, the cushions, the way it's structured, every single piece of that started in someone's mind as a thought and then became a reality by putting out the pieces together. See, everything in life is that way as well. It always begins with a thought. When we think a new thought, here's what literally happens. Thinking a new thought literally opens a space up in our minds, in our lives that never existed before prior to having that thought. It's like a brand new space you've created just by thinking it. And what happens is your unconscious and subconscious mind goes to work on filling in that space with the people, places, resources, and things to fill it up like a room and an architect would, to fill up that space and fully furnish it. That's the power of how we think. So literally everything that exists started as a thought in someone's mind and then became a material matter. And so you've got to begin to think about the things you want to materialize in your life on a regular basis and think about it repetitiously. Literally, the things that we obsess about become the things that we possess in our lives. Most people, those variable 9% of the thoughts is the new thing they're worried about, the new fear they have, the new response to an email they have to make, and they never dictate the terms. Remember this, your mind is a weapon. And you got to begin to use it and pick that weapon up and control it. Most people are out of control with their mind. They don't point it at something. They let the world point it and they misfire all the time. So today, I want you to pick up that weapon that is your mind and begin to point it at the things you want, knowing that it's a magnet that draws to you the things in your life that you would most like to have or that you would most not like to have. And that's where most people make the mistakes in their life. So today, I want you to begin with first taking an inventory of the thoughts you have that don't serve you. And I want you to write them down and I want you to eliminate them. Step one, write down the thoughts that don't serve you and eliminate them. How do I eliminate them? By replacement. You eliminate them with replacement by thinking a new thought. It's as simple as saying, what thought would I need to have that would serve me to get this goal or dream or vision that I have? And get that thought, write it down, repeat it over and over and over and over again. Because there's a part of our brain called the reticular activating system. And it's the filter that we see the entire world through. I talk about it a great deal in my book, Max Out Your Life. You can click the link here. There's a little bit of the description in the bio as well, or go to maxoutbook.com. You can get the book or go to Amazon. But I talk about this in the book. The reticular activating system is the filter through which you see the entire world. It's powerful. And so that's why it filters out all the things in your life that aren't important to you so that you can be sane. You don't feel the blood rushing through your left ear. You don't you're not conscious of your breathing. A million stimulus would hit you. If you couldn't filter things out, you'd go crazy. This allows you to only filter into your consciousness what is most important to you. And what's most important to you is what you think about all the time. And it creates a filter. For example, that's why if something's important to you, the reticular activator reveals it to you through vision, sound, touch, you name it. And so, for example, you ever buy a new car, you've got a new, blue Honda car. All of a sudden, don't you see that car everywhere? It's on the it could be 3 lanes over, other side of the freeway. You see blue Hondas all of a sudden everywhere. They were already all over the road. Why do you see them all of a sudden? You ever notice that before? Because that's become important to you because it's part of your reticular activating system now. So what if you could program your mind that the blue Hondas of your life are your goals, your dreams, and your visions? And the way we do that is repeated thinking, looking at our goals, visualizing them, seeing them over and over again. So let me give you a couple tips to do that. Number one, your smartphone, you check about 400 times a day. 400. The most important thing you could do is on your screensaver, program the thoughts that would serve you, the goals that would serve you. That gives you 400 triggers a day. Every time you pick up this phone, you're looking at your blue Hondas. You're looking at what's most important to you. And what happens is when you put that down, the RAS begins unconsciously to help filter into your existence the people, the places, the conversations, the things that will help you materialize that space you've created with the thought. It fills it with the furniture of your life, the furniture, the people, places, and things. So the second thing is to program your phone with your goals and dreams. That's 400 triggers a day to begin to alter those 9% of your thoughts. That's my challenge to you. As you program that RAS, what's going to begin to happen is you'll literally be sitting in a restaurant 3 or 4 tables over as you're in a conversation. You ever had this happen? You just can't help but hear somebody in that restaurant 3 tables over. You shouldn't be able to hear them, that you do. And sometimes it almost drives you crazy, doesn't it? Like, I can't get these people out of my head. Why is it sometimes you can hear these conversations in a room or on an airplane away from you, and other times you can't? Because somehow that conversation became important to you, and the RAS filters it into you auditory through your hearing, and you begin to hear it. When you're obsessed with what you want, you begin to hear those conversations. When you're not obsessed, you miss them. Or you'll see something that you wouldn't see. You'll see the prospect. You'll see the situation. You'll see the opportunity. It's literally reveals you. It's almost like the Matrix. It changes our world. This is the power of what we think about. It's the most misunderstood thing in the world. It's literally taking control of your thoughts and pointing it at your life and your goals and your dreams as a weapon to magnetize towards you what you want. So my challenge to you is, number one, get control and be aware of the thoughts that don't serve you and eliminate them by replacement with the thoughts that do serve you. These thoughts are the things that you want in your life. We do that by repetitious thinking, and we do that by programming them in our phone, having some sort of vision board up in our lives. You can put your goals on your mirror in your bathroom, but you've always heard these things before, but you've never understood why they work, so most people don't do it. It works because it reprograms that filter in your mind to begin to find those things in your life. If you don't take control of them and you think you're just going to work your way into it, you will work yet another year, another month, another decade, and that life's going to look an awful lot the same because we become what we think about. And if we don't alter those 9%, our life ends up looking exactly the same. So my challenge to you is to program your RAS, to write those goals down, and to repetitiously program them into your thinking as much as you can. I used to walk this beach as a kid and say, this is where I want to live someday. I knew exactly what beach. I knew exactly the area. And the more my brain went to work on that specific thought, that specific place, the more likely it was to happen. So remember this, the more specific you are with your thinking, the more intentional you are with the thoughts, the higher the probability of it happening. And your brain can go to work, that RAS can go to work on finding the people, places, things, and resources to fill in that very specific thought that you have. So don't be general, be specific, and repeat it over and over and over again to yourself. You got a whole lot more likelihood of happening. The other thing is this, your brain likes to gravitate towards what it's most familiar with. The brain loves familiar things, okay? So the more you think about something, the more you place yourself on that beach, in that house, with that amount of money, with that body, the more repetitive it is that you place yourself in those things, those places, and those situations. The more your brain becomes familiar with it, the more it gravitates towards it. You can't think about it once. It's the repetition over and over again. Your brain begins to think, oh, I belong here. We belong here. You actually eventually convince yourself literally that you belong in your dreams by the repetitive and specific thinking and visions of them over and over again. One thing to be conscious of is the RAS doesn't reveal to you necessarily what you need necessarily, because what you need has always been there. What it does is it opens you up to seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting the things that you need in order to attract them into your life. The last part of the steps that I want to share with you is that you've got to control the beginning and the end of your day with your thinking. And so one of the first things you need to do when you wake up, after you do your stretching, your prayer, your meditation, whatever it is to take a 5-minute window and control your thinking, whether you after your meditation, your prayer, whatever it is, but you take a 5-minute window and you visually see your goals and dreams. Picture them as videos in your mind. Picture them as you possessing them and see them written down on a sheet of paper. This will begin to control your mind for the day. And then at the very end of the day, what I do, one of the last things I do after my prayer, when I'm laying in bed at night, is I read through my goals and my dreams, I picture them, and I allow my RAS and my subconscious mind to go to work on them. When I get my sleep, it's going to work on revealing to me. It's playing back the video, believe it or not, of my day in my mind. And it is revealing to me the things that I may have missed in that day that could bring those things into my reality. And it helps me wake up ready to get them as well. So if you'll do that, where you wake up, you go to bed, and when you check your phone, you are going to alter those 9% of your thoughts. These are 3 key steps on changing the way you think. And we know if we can change the way we think, we change the 9% of our thoughts, we change what we obsess about, we begin to possess them. That thought opens up a new space that didn't exist before, just like that chair you're sitting in, and we'll begin to create those things in our lives. Use these 3 steps to change your thinking. And I know if we stack that up over a day, a week, a month, 3 or 4 years, and a decade, the direction of your life is completely different. You see yourself living like this. Max out. Hey guys, thanks for sticking around. If you'd like more, click the videos right here. They're exactly what you need to see next. And if you're new here, hit subscribe.
What'd you guys think of that video? Yeah, for sure. You're totally good, man. For the people on Zoom.
So this is Jordan, the mortgage guy, just for the people on Zoom. Gosh, I feel like I am so simple-minded now after watching that. And after listening to you earlier, Riley, when you were asking about goals, like I don't have a specific one, and that's embarrassing. I feel like I've been fairly successful in my life, but now I'm thinking, man, has that all been by accident? Like it just happened that I've been fairly successful. Like how much better could I have been if I did this type of stuff? Because yeah, obviously the thoughts that are probably going through all of our head, oh, rates are high. People may not want to buy houses. My job might be at risk. This may not be a good thing. Like those things.
I'm too young. I'm too new.
Yeah.
I'm too this.
No one would trust me. I'm too young. No, I don't want to go take agents out to lunch. I don't want to go do that stuff. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Agents don't want me to take them out to, like those are the thoughts that, that I need to kick out of my head. And I actually just need to find goals, like specific things I want to accomplish.
Right.
Because honestly, it seems like what I have accomplished is kind of by accident.
So 2 things I'm going to say. Gary Keller has a quote that most people are successful in spite of themselves, not because of themselves. Right. Like because of the person they are, you're surprised they are successful. Most people do not have it all together. And just because I teach you guys this stuff doesn't mean I have this all like dialed in. I'm not amazing at this by any means. I just try, but I'm telling you, literally just by putting these simple things into practice day after day after day, they will completely change your life. Like I'll literally tell you, I'll be so transparent with you. When I was 14, I was a punk, and I literally told my mom, I can't wait till I get out of high school so I can get some shitty apartment, get a dog, and sit home all day and play video games and drink beer. Do I do that today? Do I have any interest in doing that? No. But do you know why? Because of learning things like this. They completely changed the trajectory of my life and me as a person just because of exposing myself to this. Even if I wasn't perfect at it, even if when I was 14, I didn't take time every day to pray and meditate and do all that stuff. Gradually over time, I became the person that could implement those activities that just became natural. It didn't even feel like it was forced. So I appreciate you sharing that. Does anybody else have any takeaways? I'd love to hear one takeaway from at least 2 people.
Just the repetition of the thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like all the thoughts we have are kind of like what we do, kind of like what he was saying.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to be more conscious of what I'm thinking, and if I'm not thinking something that's going to help me, I want to get it out of my head and think differently. Pretty much think how people like everyone in the Moore Club would think, or like you, like everyone that's doing all these amazing things in real estate. I want to be thinking like them.
It's awesome. Cash.
So this because you read the Miracle Morning, but
Mm-hmm.
something that I need to be better about doing is my nighttime routine. So I've got a really good morning routine when my daughter isn't absolutely crazy. But I've got a good morning routine that I do that I follow that really helps me through the day. But my nighttime routine sucks. It just sucks. So I need to make sure to do that. And I liked how he said he goes over his goals and all of the things that he wants to accomplish and does that visualization exercise as he's like going to sleep, because then your brain's just on autopilot and that's what it's thinking about instead of the dumb thing that you just saw on your phone before you go to sleep for 8 hours. Like it just makes a lot of sense.
Yep. Planting seeds. That's awesome. You guys want to pitch anything? If not, it's fine.
I liked how he explained why seeing your goals makes difference, because it's like we all have heard our whole life, like, oh, write your goals down somewhere, you're going to see it all the time, but you never know why. So I thought that part was really cool. It makes me want to do it more now that I know why it works, instead of just like, I don't know, before it was just kind of like, does it actually work? Because I don't
Right.
really get it, but so I liked that part a lot.
I appreciate you sharing. Funny thing, he talks about the beach that he's walking on. In another video, he literally shows his house that's on that exact same beach, that he would talk about how like it's important to touch your dreams as you go through this process. Because like all of us aren't going to start off with $1 million in the bank and a Rolls Royce or a boat or a beautiful family or whatever, like the material or non-material thing is you want for your life. But the more you can expose yourself to circumstances, situations, people that have the things you want, you're going to by default start to associate yourself with them. Right. So I think that's important. Tyson?
Yeah. I feel like it's huge to like get more specific on your goals. Sorry, I'm kind of sick.
No,
but,
you're good.
But yeah, that's something I've struggled with a lot, is getting super specific on what I want and like setting the goals.
Right.
So I feel like that's huge.
Yeah. And it can be tough too, especially because like when you start off, when you don't know what you don't know, you're just like, I don't know. I'm just here because I know I need to make this career happen. Like, where do I start? And then gradually that starts to grow and even become something else. But yeah, that's why I like how KW teaches it, where it's like important to kind of associate with your big why. So like, I always use Cash because he is the perfect example of it. So, we had a conversation where he's like, I really need to close 6 this summer. And I was like, why? Like, it's a very odd, specific number, right? It's like, because if I close 6 this summer, I'll have made enough money to be on the path to let my wife stay at home with our new baby, which is then going to give me the reinforcement I need to stay in this industry long-term. Well, what did he do? He has a big why. It's his wife and his baby, but then he broke it down into an incremental measurable step. So I know it's pretty black and white. If by August 31st, Cash doesn't have 6 deals closed, did we win? No. But then what can I help Cash do? I can take that 6 and break it down to a monthly, weekly, daily action plan to make him hit that goal. Right. So I appreciate you guys jumping in and sharing that. I hope that was helpful. I'd love to talk with you individually if you guys want help goal setting or just talking about how to set things up. But real quick, let's do a quick recap. So current mission. So every time we do a team meeting, I always want to relate back to what can you implement today, right? First and foremost, talking to a lot of you guys, I realize most people on the team don't have either one, don't have a database, or 2, don't have a database of at least 200 people. Sounds like a lot. It's not a lot, I promise. Like I say, most people have at least 50 to 75 contacts on their phone, at least 500 friends on Facebook, a couple hundred followers on Instagram. Maybe you don't. If you don't, come find me. We'll give you a phone book. We'll figure it out, right? Point is, get a minimum of 200 contacts as soon as possible. So I've been working with Tyler and Cash on a Facebook message script. By the way, I worked on that and found something good for you guys, where you guys could, if I don't want, basically what I'm saying is I love you guys, but I don't want excuses, right? If we can work out a plan to make it happen, right? If you guys have 200 people on your Facebook, super easy, send them a quick message. Hey, kind of using the apology script. I've done a really bad job staying in touch with people. I'd love to catch up. It's been a couple of years. What's your phone number? Right? Get their phone number. Then you get them on the phone, you use the forwarded apology script. Guess what? By the end of the call, you built a relationship and rapport with them. You've got their email for a newsletter or what, like, doesn't matter, right? I'm going to send you my app. I'm going to send you a newsletter every month. Is that okay? Sure. Most people aren't going to tell you no, it's an email, right? But by the time you're off that call, you could have their full contact information outside of their birthday. And then at a later time, when you see their birthday on Facebook, right, you could call them, wish them happy birthday. You can get their birthday off of their actual Facebook profile, or you could follow up with them at a different time for another touch to ask for their birthday because you want to send them a card, right? So super simple way to build your database. Complete Ignite with 80% attendance. So if you've missed classes, we did record the videos. Go watch them, right? I'd love to pass all you guys off. Still think you should go to Ignite when it's done, but it's a lot easier to go on your own choice versus me telling you have to, right? Because then you could go to the classes selectively that you feel like you would need the information reinforcement, or because you guys all love Colby, you can go to his class and, no, they loved your class, man, to be honest. You should. Again, so database, Ignite, lead gen. So again, remember your job description. Your one thing is to do your daily 10-4. I would rather never see you. I mean, okay, I'm going to say this lightly, get a little passionate. I want to see you in classes, but I'd rather know that I'm not seeing you in a class because you're busting your ass getting business than not doing anything at all. And so I want you to track your numbers on your scorecard, on your scoreboard. So I know when we meet, I can look at your business and say, you know, Tyson or Cash or Tyler, or even me. Oh man, why am I not getting any business this week? Why have I not set any appointments? Well, no joke, because I haven't made any calls or conversations or anything, right? Great thing too, guess what? Part of your daily 10-4 is a contact. What constitutes a contact? Can someone tell me? Any two-way conversation. Guess what? You got 1,000 Facebook friends and I have you go send 40 messages today. All of them respond. 20 of them respond. Did you exceed that 10? How simple was it? Right? It doesn't have to necessarily be a phone call. Ideally, at some point in time, that is your direct communication. Sure. But it could be a text. It could be a phone call. Ideally, again, first introduction is a phone call because that's what helps you get through the script. You're not going to text someone for 6 hours through the Ford script. Well, how's your mom? Well, how's your brother? Right? But it's so much easier to talk about that on the phone. Is that fair? Second thing, or I guess third thing, fourth thing, whatever, complete any remaining onboarding. I can't help you with the big stuff if you can't or won't do the little stuff for me, right? I want to get you done with those things so we can have higher level conversations on masterminding about how he can go get a listing in the next 7 days. He could go pick up a buyer tomorrow. Can we, role player buyer presentation, build you guys great systems, everything like that. Another thing, GPS 411, goals, priorities, strategy set, monthly, weekly, and daily plan set. There's a launch video you guys can go watch to get the breakdown. You're welcome to grab me as well. I'm happy to help. And then again, lastly, ask for help. We're here to support you. So no question's a stupid question. I know I can give you tough love, but I'm truly happy to help. Like I'm actually wanting, that's the reason I'm here, right? Is to succeed through you guys. I want to see this happen for you. So if you need anything, let me know. Lastly, I want to know how it's going. Cash? Yeah. Microphone, we hand him that real quick.
So I just wanted to do a quick bucket fill. Jen's transaction Thursday today was insanely amazing.
Mhm.
There was so many like just golden nuggets of information in there. So I'm not really good at going to transaction Tuesday or Thursday, I'll be honest, but it was super awesome to be a part of that and learn all the different things that she did. She talked about open houses. Like I didn't think that would be part of transaction Thursday, but it was super helpful. So there's more support here than I think any of us could ever utilize all of it,
Yes.
which is awesome.
And that's my point where I say we may have a class about a specific topic or set aside a time block. Like Alex has Tech Thursday, right? Jen has transaction Thursday and Tuesday. Does that mean that if you popped on and asked them a question about something else, they're going to say, no, that's not for today's purpose? No, they make the time. We make the time every single week. And most of the time people do nothing with it. I would rather have you show up and take me completely off course and let me rant on a tangent and teach you some deep level, crazy, like he said, in the weeds type of stuff, than sit up here and get, glazed over stares and have no one implement what I'm teaching. So again, use that time with us as a one-on-one, right? Obviously I'm not literally in the office with Tyler, but guess what? If he asks me a question right now, I will go off the cuff for a half hour if I have to, and make sure he leaves with the answers he needs to go put into action. Right. So I appreciate you saying so. That's what I'm saying. Right. That's what I want you guys doing. And Jen's awesome. Jen will teach you whatever you need to know. She loves to help. So again, how's it going? Lead generation. So from raise of hands, who has lead generated every day this week? On Zoom. You guys have to chime in. I can't see you. Who has lead generated every day this week? Okay. Who has lead generated at least 2 days this week? Cash and Tyler. Who's generated at least 1 day this week? Okay. On Zoom, hurry and quickly say, how many times you guys lead generate each time? Say your name and the amount of times.
Cade, I've done it twice this week.
Awesome.
Yeah, this is Alexi. I've also done it twice.
Awesome. I don't know if Mariah's still on there. I can't see the name list.
This is Tori. I'm focusing on training, so unfortunately I have not lead generated this week.
No sweat. Tori, you're the one person. I know you got a lot going on, so I will give you some slack. Okay. I don't know if Mariah's on there anymore, but I'll move on. How is it going? I just want to know what you guys feel like you're struggling with, or what. I mean, I know Cash, you've had some wins. Tyler, we've talked. You've had some. I even heard you on the phone today doing the, haven't talked to you for a couple of years kind of script. Oh, script writing. Okay. Even better. Don't care. Right. That's awesome. How is it going though? I'd love to know what you guys are experiencing or what makes you uncomfortable. Like when I say do lead generation, do you just squeam in your chair? Do you feel a little like gross and weird? What are the parts of this that you guys feel like are not, I don't know, for lack of a better word, enjoyable or that you're having issues with?
For me, it's really just starting. But once I can get the first 1 or 2 calls done, then I feel a lot more comfortable with it.
Mhm.
But it's just taking that like jump off the diving board or that first step. That's my issue.
I get that. Anybody else?
Yeah. Mine probably is just trying to, I get so caught up in working on my business that I forget. Like, so the day that I didn't do it was Tuesday. We had an immense number of meetings and crazy things going on Tuesday. And so I just didn't lead generate at all, which is funny because that's the one thing I need to do to get business. But I get so focused on setting up my business and working on it that I forget to work in it. So,
Right. I totally get that. And I've fallen, into that trap as well. And even taking this opportunity, there's been many days where I'm like, I'm more focused on getting a class ready or a slide ready or something for you guys. And I don't do my lead gen, which is not, I need to be leading the pack. Right. With that being said, though, that's where it goes back to just making sure you have the time block and you honor it. And I'm like, it can be an hour, it can be 2 hours, it can be 3 hours. It should be 2 to 3 hours, truthfully, per day. But I mean, literally, even if it's like, okay, I've got such a slam day, which I highly doubt anybody has such a slam day they couldn't sacrifice an hour, even if it's 20-minute intervals, right? There's just really no excuse. But even if it's like, okay, I'm setting a timer on my phone for 30 minutes, I'm going to hit dial as many times as I humanly can. Maybe you only make one phone call and you get stuck in the call the entire time. And that's all you could do that day. Just do something. But I want to hold you to a higher standard because that's BS. We should not be, we could do at least an hour plus, right? So that's fine. Any wins? Who has got traction from the lead generation they're doing? Has anybody set any appointments? Tyler? Oh, sorry, guys. Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead.
So this happened, I think it was 2 weeks ago,
Mhm.
doing lead generation. Then I'd called someone that I used to work out with.
Mhm.
Then we were supposed to go to lunch last week. We couldn't make it happen. So we went yesterday, we went to dinner. But him and his wife are like super close to getting ready to go and start buying. And like,
Mhm.
they're just like, they have the motivation themselves too. It's not me trying to,
Push them.
Yeah.
You're just here to,
I'm just here
Facilitate.
to help them. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's been nice.
that's awesome, man. Good job. What lacking knowledge or information do you guys feel like you have? And maybe you don't know what you don't know. I'm always going to say that, but is there something that you're like, man, if I like, you'd feel more confident in your day to day, let's say, if you just knew this one thing, like, we've talked about a lot of stuff, database building, lead generation, scripts, how to track, how to set goals. There are some higher level stuff that we'll get to, like setting up a proper buyer presentation, everything. But I just feel like there's no point. I mean, I can see the logic of teaching you that right now because then you're more confident to set those appointments. But I also know if you're not setting appointments for it, I'm not going to teach you how to set up a bank account if you don't make any money, right? There's no, it's like the one thing comes before the other type of thing. But I also don't want to be holding you guys back with any limited information or things you feel like you're not getting. So is there anything that comes to mind? Cash says the language of real estate. So that could obviously be taught as scripting, but even just general dialogue. So let's work on it. So if there's times or things you guys want to role play with, you let me know. I'll make a half hour for you. We'll get together as a group and bust it out. So I appreciate that. I'll keep it in my mind. Wants, needs. Anything you guys need? Resources, training, support? Okay. What are our plans for the rest of the week? Just nonchalantly nudge to that. Yeah. Okay. Plans for the week. I'd love to have you guys check in with me today. Just send me a text. How many people you have in your database right now? And by database, I mean specifically command. Maybe you have more. That's great. Add them. But at least today, I'd love a tally. Ignite, we'll get that wrapped up this week. Next week, we'll hand out our certificates for those who have 80% plus attendance. Make sure you do your lead generation. Again, I love the idea of having you guys do Facebook messages and stuff. Super simple. You could don't get distracted. Don't go down a rabbit hole on Instagram or Facebook. But if you're diligent on it, you could make 30 contacts today, like it's no problem, and have 30 people teed up for next week for a phone call. How nice is it knowing that they're expecting your call versus you have to just call them cold? A lot better, right? Good.
One plan that I've been wanting to do is like pre-message like the Instagram and Facebook people, at least like 10 people to like one day, and even just be like, can I call you between these times tomorrow? Just because one, I would already know who I need to call, and two, they're expecting it also.
Yep. It's great. Well, if you guys need anything else from me, get after it today. I appreciate you guys. Hopefully this was helpful. I feel like we did some good training and general, powwowing, but if there's something I can do to help you individually, let me know. And next week we'll jump into some more training and we'll spend a lot more time as a group doing some lead generation and script practice because there's no Ignite. So we got to use that time for something. So still show up during those times. I'll have something for you. And if you guys need anything else, you let me know. Sound good? Thanks, guys.